and then we'll admit them. Hi, good morning, Ankush. Good to see you again. I'm so glad that you jumped on for this presentation. We're just admitting a couple of people into the session. All right, so I think we just have 2 participants for now, so we'll go ahead and get started, and a couple people might join us a few minutes late. So thanks again for being here this morning. I know both of you have been on multiple sessions yesterday and today, so I really want to thank you for being here and for taking full advantage of all the sessions that are offered as part of this series. I'm especially excited about this session. We're going to have Natalie kind of walk us through Interstride, which is a platform that you have access to. ASU has a paid subscription to this resource, and I just think it's such a great resource, especially if you are looking to do international job searching. There's so many great functionalities within the platform. So you guys both know because you've been on previous calls, but you were muted when you entered the waiting room. We've actually enabled it so that you're able to unmute yourselves. So as we go through the presentation, if you have any questions, feel free to use the chat function or unmute yourself to ask that question to us. Since we are a small group, we'll try to make this pretty participatory. So feel free to unmute yourself or turn your video on as well. And other than that, I'll just go ahead and pass it over to my colleague, Natalie McIntyre.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brianne. And thank you both for joining us this morning. Again, my name is Natalie McIntyre, and I'm a career and industry specialist here at ASU Career and Professional Development Services. And I'm excited to get to walk through an overview of Interstride. And like Brianne mentioned, Interstride is a tool, it's a resource that you have access to for career exploration, for the job search process, specifically for international students and those looking for international opportunities. So it's, I hope that if you haven't dived into Interstride yet, that this will be a great starting point. But if you've already looked at the platform before, if you've used it, that hopefully we can dive a little bit deeper into some of the features that it offers. So excited to get to chat with you guys about this. Before we dive in though, I'd love to hear from both of you, whether you want to use the chat feature or if you want to go ahead and unmute yourself. I'd love to hear you know, your major, your program of study, maybe what year you are, and if you'd like to share what job opportunities you are interested in and what countries you're from or you're interested in working in. So feel free if you'd like to unmute yourself or use the chat feature. I'll give you a moment to introduce yourselves.
Hi, Natalia. Natalie. So how to pronounce it correctly?
That's correct, Natalie.
Natalie, okay. Yeah, so my major is biochemistry. So I'm a graduate student in the second year of my program. So although I'm a PhD student, but I'm planning to drop out of the PhD program and graduate with a master's. So that's why I'm looking for opportunities in industry. And basically I'm from India. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. Have you used the Interstride platform before?
No, I haven't used it before.
Okay, great. Well, excited to jump into that. And then thank you so much for sharing, Sadna, if I pronounce that correctly, about your background as well. Great, so I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen with you here quickly, so bear with me just a moment. Great. So we're going to go ahead and look at, again, Interstride, which is a tool that you have access to, like Brianne mentioned, through your ASU email and password. So the quickest way to log in, I would say, is through our ASU website, and I'll actually walk you through that. But here today, I want to go ahead and focus on some of the main features that Interstride offers. So we're going to look at the landing page, the home page, and some of the resources that they offer there, the visa insights, as well as the country insights I want to take a look at, as well as the jobs and organizations that have sponsored that are showcased on Interstride as well. So we'll look at those main parts. And then I want to go ahead and look at Handshake, which hopefully you've had the opportunity to explore, but I'd love to point out a couple filters related to organizations that do offer sponsorship, as well as OPT and CPT. So I'm going to go ahead and actually move to my web browser and pull up Interstride. So I'm sharing my screen here. Like I mentioned, I would say the quickest way to access Interstride, if you want to go ahead and start on our career page, career.asu.edu. And once you click on Get Career Advice, you'll see in the second column, Working Internationally. This provides a page where there's quite a few resources, and I'll point to some of these at the end as well, but we do highlight our Interstride page and provide a link to it here. So once you click that link, it's gonna lead to Interstride's login page. If you have not created an account before, again, you will have access to your ASU ID and password. However, it may prompt you to ask you a couple questions related to your preferences, setting up your profile. But once you've done that, it will go ahead and lead you to this page here. And as you can see, this is my landing page, also called the home page here on Interstride. So I do want to point out a couple things on the landing page, and that's mainly the resources, kind of in a blog type feed, maybe something like you would see on LinkedIn. But this is updated, I would say probably, if not weekly, almost daily, where the administrators on Interstride are posting resources. So if you have time to even make this a part of your daily job search routine, or as you're scrolling through maybe your LinkedIn, also looking here. There's some great resources that are highly relevant to the current job market, thinking about who's hiring, best practices for the application process, what to consider maybe in various countries, various things related to visa, sponsorship, and things like that. So feel free to browse that at your convenience. But I do want to jump into some of the main tabs here. So as you're getting familiar with the platform, one of the main features I like to start with is the Visa Insights section of Interstride. So it's the second tab here. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And so what this area does, it provides you a space to search for previous companies. You can also search by industries that have filed H-1B petitions, offered sponsorship in the past. And so you're able to see what are some of those, again, some of those main organizations that have offered that. So I'm going to point out a couple of filters that you can search by. And so this, again, I believe, I think this is a great tool to use along with Handshake, along with some of the other tools that you're using as you're doing research as to where you would want to work and who's sponsoring. So you can search by the H-1B but you can also search by these other filters if you want to look at CPT or OPT, if they've offered that in the past. And then you can go ahead and search by industry and company. So if you want to search by company, maybe you have a certain organization in mind. Maybe you have seen a job posting elsewhere. Maybe you have a certain organization that is maybe your top dream organization, and you want to see if they've sponsored in the past, what types of positions they've sponsored. So how the filtering system works, you can type in a certain company here. And I was recently just looking at one. I'll go ahead and look and see. I'm going to look at Stripe and see what opportunities they've sponsored in the past. But you're welcome to look by job title, by geographical location. So once you submit that filter, that's going to go ahead and pull the organization up here. And so as you can see how many petitions were filed. And once I click on that, this is going to dive a little bit deeper into the organization. Now, again, you're welcome to look at any organization, even industry. What you'll see first are other links, and this is going to give you space and links to research the company a little bit more. Obviously, LinkedIn is going to give you job postings within the organization, more insight into the organization. Crunchbase is a great tool to find out about funding within the organization and how it's doing in the current market, as well as some of these other links here. But what you can do here at the bottom is look at past sponsored positions. So once I click that, that's actually going to give me the specific job titles that have, where they've had petitions. And so you can go ahead and look at those and see what those job titles were. And it has that breakdown here. If you do click on it, it's actually going to dive a little bit deeper into the levels of those positions. And I'll point out that the largest one here, the pink one, is entry-level position. So typically, with limited experience, maybe undergraduate, but there's also other levels that they've hired for there. And then you're also welcome to look at the average salary. I'm going to go ahead and go back, and I do want to point out another piece to this tool. I will say too, there's a lot on Interstride, so it tends to be a little bit slow, just so you're aware sometimes when there's a lot loading. But so I did showcase companies, but you're also, when you do clear your filters, which you can see mine are clear now, it's going to showcase really the top organizations, the top companies that have filed those H-1B petitions. So again, you're welcome to click on those to learn more about those past sponsored positions, those job titles. They do actually link here at the bottom to open jobs within that organization, which we're actually going to dive into in just a moment. So I will see that here in just a bit. So that's the main piece to the Visa Insights tool. Obviously, there's a lot in here. There's a lot of filters, but I would encourage you to take some time to explore this Visa Insights as you're seeking to learn more about who, again, has filed for petitions in the past. So I do want to take a moment if there are any questions. If you'd like to use the chat feature before I move on to the next piece. Great. Thanks for asking. So can we also search by using career fields or major? That's exactly right. So I'm going to go back to the same page. So as you can see, I did search by company, but you are able to search by industry. So I do recommend browsing that field as well. If you would like to look, you can really look at any industry. There's a variety provided here. But if you were, for example, I'll just click on banking and finance. But again, you could also look at job title. So those are the two filters that are available, I think, that are most related to your question. And you can press submit there, and that's going to pull those organizations most relevant to those filters there. And I will point out too, we do have the maps tool. So this is actually going to showcase where specifically these opportunities, these organizations are at and where they've hired. So this one does take a moment to load. So, but you will be able to see a map there with main cities highlighted and things of that nature. It looks like it's loading here. I'll go ahead and look at our chat to see who else, if we have any other questions. Great. Great, and again, feel free if you do have other questions along the way to pop those in the chat, as I do want to make this interactive as well. So I'll go ahead and showcase that map. As you can see, it did load, and you can see where some of these opportunities are as shown on a geographical map. So you can see that. So next I want to go ahead and move to a different piece to Interstride, and that's the Country Insight tool. So as you can see here, Country Insight. So this is actually one of my favorite pieces, and I think it's such again, a neat kind of tool to add to your toolkit within your job search. Depending on where you're applying, you're welcome to browse any country on here. So if you were looking at the US, you could dive into that a little bit deeper. I know we've had quite a few students, and I'll just click on one here, go to Canada. And so I'll click on that as an example. So what this tool is going to do is showcase the country, some of the top trends, as you can see, some main abouts about the country. But what I want to point out today are some links at the bottom, and I think these are some top links that I hope you either bookmark or you come back and visit. And I won't click on every link here, but I do want to point out a couple that I think are most insightful, especially as you're preparing. Maybe you are applying for a certain job in this country, and you want to learn about, what are some best practices? What are they expecting as far as my resume, as far as my CV? What are some kind of hiring trends that are unique to that country? Maybe some cultural best practices. And so this tool provides that insight. And so I think some of these links go fairly deep into some of that. I always preface that saying you absolutely want to do research ahead of time for each organization that you apply to, and to make sure that each organization does have their individual cultures, even within a certain country, even certain counties or cities. So, but this can provide you, I think, that stepping stone to learn more about work environment and work culture, and best practices for that application process. So I actually do want to showcase Internations, and this is one, I think most of the countries, they will highlight this, but this really dives fairly deep, as you can see. more about specific things related to this country, whether you want to learn about a little bit more into visa and work permits, kind of what's trending and best practices there, but also, if you want to look at working, they provide a lot of insight into resumes, CVs. What is the interviewing process like? And so I'll go ahead and just showcase what it looks like. I'll obviously let you take the time to dive deeper into your country of interest. But what it's going to look like is here, how to apply. What are some trends, some common things to think about as you are applying? As you can see here, what are some resumes, CV, cover letter tips for this country? What are some kind of best practices for networking? What is the culture like when you go to an interview? Often some of these sites will give you some tips and tricks if you are doing an interview and things like that. So definitely take a look at this if you have time for your country of interest. So I'm going to go back to Interstride. And then here, I'll just point out a couple more. So culture, that's going to dive a little bit deeper into the culture of wherever you're going. And then I will say the fact book of CIA is a great place to get up-to-date insights on maybe how the economy is looking in a certain country and things of that nature. So that is the country insight piece. I'll go ahead and take a moment if you would like to unmute yourself, ask any questions in the chat feature, and just take a moment to see if we have any questions. Great, yes, thanks for adding that, Brianne. You can access that with your ASU rate. Yes. Great. Any other questions at this point before we dive into other features of Interstride? Great. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to Interstride, and I want to go ahead and take a look at the jobs. So I'm going to click on jobs here at the top, and I do like to preface this piece saying that these are opportunities that Interstride pulls from a variety of sources. And so that you may see Indeed, you may see Glassdoor, LinkedIn, and many others. We always like to say, we recommend Handshake first here at Career Services. And that's because those are employers. Those are employer partners that we have approved in our system, and we have vetted their opportunities. And so we do like to recommend Handshake first, but you're welcome to look at the jobs tool too here in Interstride. These typically are jobs that highlight companies that have sponsored in the past. With that said, with the current COVID-19 environment, it's always important to dive a little bit deeper and do some research to make sure each individual opportunity posted does offer that. But here, so you're welcome to look here in the US as well as at international jobs. So what you'll do is select your preference, and then you're welcome to look at all jobs or even the top organizations for H-1B. You're welcome to, if you have a certain job title, a certain organization, I'll just do a generic search here to showcase what it looks like. And here is where you can click on a certain opportunity, and that's going to link you to the outside source of the posting. Again, these are organizations that have sponsored in the past that they are highlighting. I'll go ahead and showcase the international opportunities as well. So when I go back here, you're welcome to select a country where you want to see postings. Since I've done Canada before, I'll do that again. And then here you can enter a job title if you'd like. So this is going to pull specifically in that country, and you can see again, these are only going to be within that country. You're welcome to do filters and other keywords within this more specific search. So this is another piece and another tool on Interstride that's available to you. So I'd like to move into kind of the last pieces of Interstride that I want to highlight and that I hope that you utilize as you're beginning or diving deeper into Interstride. And the first one I'll move to is, as we wrap up here, are resources. So there's a lot of information in Interstride, but here you can see it broken down by category. These are some great tools, videos, documents, and other links that are highly relevant to today's current environment, as you can see with COVID-19 resources. More resources related to visa and immigration, if you'd like to see what they have in there, some great PDFs, some guides, have a great video here, as well as CPT, OPT, STEM resources. We do have, obviously, the ISSC office here at ASU that provides some great and essential resources for you to look at as well, but you also have this available to you. And then lastly, as you're diving deeper into Interstride, I always like to point out the webinars, and Interstride is constantly putting out new information, trying to stay on top of industry and country trends, especially again in today's environment. And so feel free to look at webinars that they have coming up. I know today we've kind of done more of an overview of Interstride, but these can dive into a little bit deeper into some of the pieces of Interstride if you want to again dive a little bit deeper. If there aren't any that you're interested in coming up, absolutely feel free to look at past webinars. I'll recommend, I think one of the ones I recently attended was actually this one here at the top. So job search strategy for international students. This is with Nitin, who's one of the founders of Interstride. He has a very interesting story and how he talks about his sponsorship and his job search strategy and how to utilize Interstride within that. So definitely feel free to look at those. I'll go ahead and pause again. We're going to go ahead and wrap up Interstride, as that's really a main overview I wanted to provide for you today. But I do also want to look at Handshake here and showcase a couple of features as you are searching for jobs. But I will pause again if there are any other questions. And so I'll go ahead and look in the chat feature, or feel free to unmute yourself. And I see a great, thanks, Brianne. Yes, so all of the webinars are free to attend, and you're welcome to access those at your convenience. Obviously, the past ones are available at any time, or you're welcome to sign up for the interactive live webinars. Great question. Absolutely, absolutely. Great, so we're gonna go ahead and look at Handshake now. Hopefully you've had a chance to spend a little bit of time in Handshake. So I'm gonna go to my Handshake page. And so when you log in, this is your home page, and actually, give me a moment, it's gonna make me sign back in. So this is where you'll be linked to. And so Handshake has a variety of tools. We like to say it's our one-stop shop. You're welcome to make appointments with myself, with any of our other team on the platform here. Also, all of our events. We do have some virtual career fairs coming up, as well as interactive events with employers, panels, other things related to professional development. This series here is also in the events section where you may have registered. But along with those pieces, we have our job and internship board. And so you'll see, if you haven't looked at it in the past, this is where the jobs are posted. And at any given time, we have many thousands of opportunities posted in here. So I highly recommend using our filtering system to your advantage to guide you in filtering through some of the opportunities maybe you aren't interested in, so you can focus on the ones that you are. So today, I'm just gonna wrap up with showcasing a couple filters that I think may be relevant to you if you haven't used yet. And so here you can see those advanced filters. Once you click on this filter button, and you can scroll through, you can filter by internship or job, as well as other more specific things. So if I did want a full-time opportunity, I might click that. But I will point out work authorization filters. So what you can do is filter employers by will sponsor or doesn't require US work visa, as well as accepts OPT, CPT. Feel free to use those. I always preface again, in today's environment, making sure that the employer, that the position is still hiring by going to the organization's website. But these are great filters to help you sort through maybe some organizations that you're not interested in. You're welcome to search by industry. And so that may be whether that is in business, education, maybe marketing, whatever that might be. There's many, many positions that you can sort through. I'll go ahead and look at advertising, marketing, PR for today, just to showcase the platform. You can look at job function if you have a certain role you'd like to look at. Preference, the employer can preference what majors they're interested in. But also I will point out, you can put in specific employers. If you do see a job posting on Interstride and you want to see, maybe if here at ASU, we have vetted that employer, that opportunity, and you can look and see if they have posted in Handshake. So once you've selected your filters, then you'll click the See Jobs, and that's gonna pull anything that matches your filters. And so you're welcome to look through those, click on an opportunity that may be of interest to you. Again, you're welcome to put in geographical location, which I did not, but then that would filter by those certain areas you're preferring. And this is going to provide you that information about the position as any other job posting would, the requirements, but you're welcome to read more about others who have reviewed their experience at the organization. And you're welcome to look on the organization website. I also, kind of going back to Interstride, I recommend looking and seeing with the Interstride tool, has this organization in the past, have they sponsored before? What types of positions? And exploring more and researching more in that way as well. So at this point, I'll go ahead and open it up to questions again. I know kind of a lot of information, but I do hope that this showcases some of the extensive tools available to you as an international student or are those looking to work in various countries.
Thanks so much, Natalie. We did have a couple of questions actually that came through towards the end of the last part that you were covering. So one person is asking about the on-campus option in Handshake. Can we click through on that and just talk a little bit more about what's listed in the on-campus section?
Absolutely. So let me go back to Handshake. So I believe you're referring to this button here. So what this is going to pull, and actually I'm going to go ahead and clear my filters so that we can have a fresh start. So this is going to pull opportunities here at ASU. We also have our student job board, which is on our ASU website, that you're welcome to look at, as there are quite a few opportunities in there. But if certain programs would like to put opportunities in Handshake, as you see, sometimes we will get graduate assistant positions, maybe research positions posted in here. We do like to point out that often not all of those positions are posted. Often, if you have an interest working in a lab, working in a research setting, working at ASU, some of those positions do require you to reach out to your specific faculty member, certain department, certain college. And so I do recommend looking on there as well, with your connections there, as well as ASU's job board for students. And if you are interested in a full-time opportunity at ASU, you're welcome to look there. But this is an option if they would like to post in Handshake, so you can see if we at any time have on-campus positions.
Great. One other question about kind of the search filters, and if you're able to filter by date that the job was posted, because it looks like some of the postings are a little bit old.
Sure. So what typically the positions, and I don't know if you're looking at a certain position, once they expire, typically they won't be shown in Handshake. So I'm going to go here to filters. And then I'm actually going to do my original search, so bear with me just a moment. To a different industry this time. So once you pull jobs, so you'll see the relevance tab, and so that's going to look at by date posted, as well as these other ones here. So if I do date posted, so that's going to pull in chronological order what was posted first, I do believe. So you can sort that way, as well as expiration dates. So you can look here, those closing the soonest, I believe is what it filters by. And so you can do it by that order. But let me know if you have other questions related to that, or if that addresses your question.
Awesome, thanks. And then we have a follow-up question about the on-campus positions. So are those only for current students?
That's correct. Typically for our student worker positions, they are, you're required to be in some sort of number of credit hours here at ASU. I know that can vary by department, so I would defer to each posting within the jobs board, but typically, yes, you will need to be a student for the student job postings.
Great, and then one last question asks about sponsorship for companies and kind of what are the requirements needed for hiring international students. So I think for this question, I really want to refer all of our participants to check out the website provided by ASU's International Students and Scholars Center. They have lots of great information kind of going over what are the different types of employment and work authorization based on your student status, the type of visa that you're on, and what type of opportunities you're looking for. So typically international students are allowed to work 20 hours per week on campus while they are a student. There are some opportunities for you to work off campus, either through CPT or pre-OPT. Those are opportunities that you have to apply for through ISSC. And then upon graduation, there are different ways that you can gain work authorization to stay in the United States if that's what you're interested in. And so one of those popular options is the H-1B visa. And so Natalie definitely walked us through how to find out about H-1B opportunities in Interstride. But if you're looking for more information about what is H-1B and how do you get started with that application process, definitely you'll want to check out the ISSC website. I'm going to pop a link into our chat here. And then you can follow up with your advisors at ISSC as well if you have more questions. So they are actually available through a live chat function on their website Monday through Friday from 1 to 4 p.m. So that's a really good way to get a hold of someone quickly if you just have some quick questions that you want answered. Otherwise, you can schedule a more in-depth appointment with them as well.
Excellent. Thanks for sharing that, Brianne, and you're welcome as well. On my screen, you should be able to see, again, our Working Internationally page, which also provides some of those links that Brianne mentioned too, so feel free to access those. So with the last remaining minutes, just want to check in to see if we have any remaining questions here today. Absolutely. Thank you for joining us. Appreciate that. Awesome. Well, thank you all so much.
Thanks, Natalie, for your great presentation, and thank you everyone for attending. And just as a reminder, the link to the recording of this session will be sent out early next week with a short survey so you can give us some feedback on what was most helpful and what maybe we can change in future sessions. So thanks again for joining and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.